Hey, beautiful. Welcome to my show, Thoughts, Action, Success. Have you ever felt like life is hard? Like it can sometimes be a struggle to get up in the morning and do all the things that you have to do? Do you ever wake up feeling constantly tired and stressed? Does life just seem too much? Sure, I get it. You have lots of work to do. You have debt, maybe you're tired from shopping, or maybe you've got a stomach ache. Now think like a true warrior. Think about someone who sleeps rough, unsure of whether or not they're going to die during the night. Then they wake up, no time for a shower or a nice breakfast, and they leap straight into action. They ignore their wounds, they take lives, and they see their friends and their brothers in arms shot and killed in front of them. But no, I get it. You're tired. You had to work until 6 p.m. last night. What I'm getting at is that your life isn't really hard. You might think it's hard, and sometimes it might feel hard. But there are people out there with much worse lives than you. There are people out there who live with crippling illness and not 2 cents to rub together. And many of them do this with a dignity, a grace, and a bravery that puts the rest of us to shame. You see, the warrior mindset actually has nothing to do with combat whatsoever. It's about knowing what you want and going for it. It's not about letting your emotions get the better of you, and it's not about taking the easy answer or the easy route to solve your problems. It's about pushing ahead with what you know is right, and it's about carrying responsibility and hardship on your shoulders with dignity and pride. It's about not letting your emotions get the better of you, and it's about not taking the easy answer or the easy route to solve your problems. So where did this title and this approach come from? What is the theory behind this thing called the warrior mindset? Of course, it comes from a romantic image of the warrior and from stories of warriors from history. It comes from tales of our bravest men and women who fought actual battles while remaining cool-headed, sacrificing themselves for others, and doing incredible things. Now, we all know that in reality, not every warrior fits this mold. For every heroic individual who put themselves in the line of fire, there would have been hundreds more soldiers that complained, that were in it for the wrong reasons, or that wouldn't put themselves out for others. Romanticizing warfare is in fact a terrible idea. It's truly a horrific state of affairs, and very few people feel like warriors when they are faced with enemy fire. But it's that image of the ideal warrior that I'm talking about, and our notions of history's greatest warriors like the samurai or the Spartans. The point is this: some people manage to stay cool and calm in even the worst conditions and situations. Some people constantly forge ahead and do not allow small inconveniences or lack of creature comfort stand in their way. And those people put us to shame. Those people make our complaints seem very minor indeed. Now imagine if you would take on that same mindset and apply it to modern life. Instead of getting tired or bogged down, instead of being distracted and tempted, you would instead drive forward with an unstoppable, bulletproof mentality. Your enemies would quake knowing that there was nothing they could do to stop you, and your career obstacles, relationship goals, and financial plans would all crumble beneath your will. If you apply an iron will and warrior mentality to your modern lifestyle, you get extreme efficiency, determination, and pride. Self-discipline, determination, and self-sufficiency are traits that make us strong and that help us get what we want. They are traits that make good parents, good friends, and good partners. They are traits that help us to live with ourselves and to earn respect and admiration from others. Imagine if you had the mental strength to sit in a freezing cold shower for hours on end. Imagine if you weren't fazed in life-threatening situations. Take those traits and put them up against the absolutely measly challenges that most of us face today. They'd all just fall away like dominoes. Having a warrior's mindset and going through modern life is like bulging with muscles and having to lift 5 kgs. Developing the warrior's mindset is like a workout for your mind, your philosophy, and your soul. It will make you unstoppable. So, what are the tenets of the warrior mindset? What words can we use to describe the modern warrior? Let me share with you just a few. Courageous, self-disciplined, principled, strong-willed, kind, growth-oriented, self-sufficiency, protective, self-sacrificing, calm, responsible, motivational, inspiring, charismatic, noble, powerful, modest, but not necessarily humble. These are just some of the traits that a true warrior should strive for. These are some of the things we'll be looking to cultivate and better understand throughout this episode. Another great description of a warrior comes from an unlikely source, the Disney film Mulan. These quotes are from the song, "I will make a man out of you," but in fact they can apply equally to a woman. Oh, and in case you don't want to learn lessons on chivalry from a Disney film, consider the fact that Jackie Chan sang the Chinese version of the song. He's one of life's true warriors, so perhaps that gives it just a little more weight. Tranquil as a forest, but on fire within. Once you find your centre, you are sure to win. We must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Still and calm on the outside, but with great power and strength on the inside. Not driven by impulse or by whim, but by greater purpose. Never bending to the will of others and never giving up when the going gets tough. That is the warrior spirit. There are plenty of ways that the warrior mindset will apply in your day-to-day life, and also plenty of opportunities to demonstrate what it takes to be a warrior. Perhaps the easiest way to consider this is to look at all those times when you weren't a warrior in your life. These are the times when your fear, your anger, or your lack of motivation and willpower got the better of you. Consider this scenario. You wake up in the morning and realise your favourite top is torn, and you spend the rest of the day angry with everyone, sulking and not focusing on your work. This very small inconvenience has ruined your total ability to stay productive, and it's made other people feel bad. It's raining outside, so you call off your plans to catch up with your friend who you know was really looking forward to the get-together. You're trying to lose weight, but you're low on energy, and so you eat a large piece of cake. Your boss needs you to complete an assignment before you go home. You resent the idea of staying later, and you feel tired, so you rush it and put in a bit less than your best work. You've been telling yourself for years that you're going to write a book, and that it is your dream to become a published author. You get home, first thing you do, crash on the couch and watch reality trashy TV. You're unhappy in your relationship or job, but you stay in it because you don't have the heart to tell the person, or you're too afraid of what the future might bring. While all these points might all seem different, they essentially came from the same thing: weakness. Weakness is often the source of our problems. Weakness means giving in to things we know aren't right, or making excuses and putting off our goals. Now let's look at how someone strong might approach exactly those same issues. You wake up in the morning and realise your favourite shirt is torn. You shrug and wear something else, recognising this is a very small issue in the grand scheme of things. It's raining out and you don't feel like going out, but you know it's the right thing to do, so you embrace it and off you go. You're trying to lose weight, but you're low on energy. You dig deep and find that fire within and head off to the gym. Your boss needs you to complete an assignment before you go home. You resent the idea of staying later and you're feeling tired, but you still complete the work to the best of your ability nevertheless. But you speak to your boss about not putting you in that position again. You've been telling your friends for years that you're going to write a book and that it's your dream to become a published author, So when you get home, you resolve to write 2 pages a night. You're unhappy in your relationship or job, so you discuss that unhappiness with the other party and look for ways to improve the situation. That might mean finding a new job or ending the relationship, but it's better than dragging it out. The warrior is mentally and physically strong, and this allows them to stick to their values and to work toward their vision for a better future, instead of doing what makes them feel good in the short term. Ultimately, this leads to much greater happiness, much greater peace, and much greater pride. And not just for you, but all those around you. That line, the fire within, is one that speaks great volumes about the warrior mindset. And it calls to mind lyrics from another song, Hearts on Fire by the band Survivor. A great line from that song goes, "In the warrior's code, there's no surrender. Though his body stays stop, his spirit cries never." So what is this telling us about the warrior mentality? Simple. Warriors don't give up and they don't give in. So how do you gain this kind of iron will and determination? How do you develop the unstoppable ability to never give up? It all starts by knowing what you want to achieve and by having a set of your own principles. To use yet another quote, Alice Cooper saying, "If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything." And this is completely true. If you have no specific goal and no set of values that is entirely your own, then how can you be expected to stick rigidly to those values? If you haven't defined who you are, what you're about, and what is important to you, then of course it will be easy to get tempted and swayed by the influence of others. Moreover, having a goal is what will give you the motivation and the energy to get up and work toward the things you are truly excited about. Let's think about someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dwayne Johnson. These are people who have accomplished incredible things, and part of the reason for that is undoubtedly their seemingly endless energy, their ability to get up every single day and know what they want to do. Can you imagine seeing The Rock look tired and dejected? Have you ever seen Arnold Schwarzenegger look indifferent or bored? These people have tireless energy, but it comes from a vision and a goal. And so it is with all the most accomplished people throughout history. Arnie said this of his burning desire and how it led him to accomplish his goals. "With my desire and drive, I definitely wasn't normal. Normal people can be happy with a regular life. I was different. I felt there was more to life than plodding through a normal existence. I've always been impressed by stories of greatness and power. I wanted to do something special, to be recognised as the best. I saw bodybuilding as the vehicle that would take me to the top, and I put all my energy into it." The point is, knowing what you want from life will fuel you with energy, whether that is wanting what's best for your family, wanting to achieve creative accomplishments, wanting to reach a certain point in your career, etc. Once you have your goal, you will find a passion. And once you have a passion, you will find that you have endless energy and drive, that you even speak with more conviction and greater charisma. Did you know that we could gesticulate more when we speak about something that we're passionate about? That's because we are now speaking with our entire bodies. Our body language is congruent with what we are saying. And did you know that when people see us speak in that way, they actually rate us as more charismatic, more inspiring, and better leaders? And with your goal and your objective, you will be better able to make decisions and to avoid unnecessary distractions. You will be more decisive and you will be more impressive. Why? Because you can consider every decision through the following lens. Does this help me to achieve my goals? If the answer is no, then do something else. What career path should you take? The one that helps you to achieve your overarching goals. The point of the goal is to have something that is greater than yourself, something worth fighting for. What we need to do is to create our own set of values and principles, rules to live by, and a goal or a vision to strive for. This can change, but we must never let others force us to act against our code. Unfortunately, there is no objectively correct way to approach life. We don't know why reality exists, what is waiting for us on the other side, if anything, or what the meaning of life is. Therefore, it is up to each of us to make our own way by assessing our own values, principles, and rules to live by. So let's start with finding a goal, something greater than yourself to strive towards, a purpose that you will be an instrument in accomplishing. No goal is wrong. It is simply having a goal and something to be passionate about that will give you the fuel and the fire to keep going no matter what. Goals start with visions. So visualize the way you want life to be. Picture where you are, what your surroundings are, who you are with, what you've accomplished. There should be a vision that makes you excited and energized, your perfect life. For inspirations, consider the times in your life when you were happiest. Consider what you wanted to be as a child and picture some of your role models and what you can perhaps learn from them. This is what you will picture in order to drive yourself toward change and toward greatness. This is what you will get out of bed in the morning. This motivates you, keeps you going, gives you that drive. And then on top of that, you are going to structure your goals, smaller, more measurable steps that will help you to achieve that point. Build your own code of ethics, your idea of what you consider to be living well and doing the right thing. Whatever you believe your code to be, write it down and then commit to stick to that code. That way you won't be persuaded by other people. You'll be able to fight for your values and people will know where they stand with you. That said, you also shouldn't be afraid to evolve and adapt your ideas over time. That is why it is important to keep reading and keep learning. There's no value in sticking to one set of goals or principles indefinitely and refusing to readdress them, as ultimately this becomes a lie as much as any other. When we think of the ultimate warrior, we will almost certainly be sure to think of someone that is brave, courageous, and seemingly fearless. This is the kind of person that will walk into the line of fire, that will speak out against injustice, that will take on enemies that are much greater than them. In our personal lives, there are no real dragons to slay. Rather, they take on many other forms, whether they be illness, whether they be debt, or whether it be the struggle of going to the gym every day. If you tune into the show, then the chances are that you have an interest in self-development. So at some point, you will have written down your goals. This is something that almost everyone seems to advise and claim can help you to accomplish your dreams by defining and visualizing them. But I'm going to share with you a different sort of approach now. In Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, he kind of turns this advice on its head somewhat. While Tim doesn't necessarily have a problem with goal setting per se, he also recommends doing essentially the opposite by doing a thing called fear setting. He claims it can do a great deal more than goal setting when it comes to realizing your aims and getting more from life. So the general idea behind fear setting is that you're defining the fears that are holding you back so that you can face them. In most cases, Tim postulates that after doing this, you'll find that your fears are relatively unfounded and thus you will move forward and pass them. Normally, our fears are of irreversible negative outcomes, but these are actually rarer than you might think. So what you do is write down the absolute worst possible outcomes for doing whatever it is you want to do. And then write down all the ways you'd cope with the situation or possibly reverse it. Let's take changing career as an example. This is something that a lot of people want to do, but feel really held back by fear of the potential repercussions. By defining those fears, though, we can minimize their potency. So, If you're going to write down the worst possible outcomes for changing careers, it might look something like this. I might leave my job only to fail to find another job. I might be unable to pay the mortgage and thus be forced to move home. It could be upset my partner so much and they might leave me. I might get the job I think I want and find out I hate it more than the job that I had. I might apply to other jobs only to get rejected by everyone and end up damaging my ego. These are real concerns, but now, if you think about all the ways you can manage risk and reduce the impact of those negative outcomes, you'll find that those fears really aren't all that founded. I can look for jobs without leaving my current job to avoid the risk of unemployment. No one has to know. This will also be a lot less reckless in the eyes of my partner. Alternatively, I could speak to my boss about my problems and see if there are other positions within my organisation. If I do end up out of work, I could always speak to my old boss about getting my job back, working in another job while I look for another work, or work for my family, or live off savings for a couple of months. Or alternatively, if an opportunity arises, move back home with my family to help you through that period. If my partner leaves me for trying to become happier, then I need to reassess that relationship. If I don't like the job I find next, then I feel more confident about job hunting again in the future. If I struggle to get accepted by anywhere, I can work on my interview technique, improve my CV, get some career guidance, all of which will be useful experiences anyway. As you've heard, the very worst scenario is probably not as bad as it seems. It may just mean living out of savings for a while, or taking a small step backwards in order to take two forwards. Likewise, as there are so many ways to minimise the risks of doing things wrong, it's quite actually unlikely you end up in those positions anyway. In the 4-hour work week, Tim also gives us one other piece of advice that I feel is really relevant here. Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Take that attitude and outline your fears. You're on track to a happier version of yourself, as well as to accomplishing much more. Tim Ferriss's ideas might seem unique, but actually, he says himself that he's inspired by ancient philosophy and specifically by the ideas of the ancient Stoics. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that dates all the way back to the 3rd century BC. Its principles were founded and practiced historical characters. And in many ways, Stoicism was an early approach to a warrior mindset. It was all about mental hardness and about learning to accept and then live with things going wrong. In fact, many of us describe someone who is brave and courageous as being stoic. So what precisely does it involve? If we tell someone that we don't think things are going to work out as we hoped, then they'll often tell us we need to be more optimistic. There's even a song that tells us to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. The general consensus is clear. Being positive is a good thing, and being anything other than positive is unacceptable. But is this really the best way for us to approach our problems? Or is it perhaps actually quite damaging to constantly be blinded by optimism? Does it leave us vulnerable to disappointment and potentially easily caught off guard? Is expecting life to be constantly sunshine and rainbows the precise opposite of a warrior mindset? Wouldn't a warrior accept and embrace the fact that life is going to be hard and then toughen themselves up to deal with it? That's the view held by Stoics, at least. And when you delve into the philosophy a little, you might find that they actually make a very good case for pessimism. The general gist of Stoicism is not to try and shut out negativity and pretend that bad things don't happen, but rather to embrace it and even to use it as a tool. Hope, according to the Stoics, is the enemy, precisely because it means we're unprepared for things going wrong and we're likely to be disappointed. Instead, Stoicism advocates the notion of gritty realism, of recognizing the negative aspects of life and accepting that a lot of what happens is out of our control and is probably not going to be very pleasant. This might not sound like a particularly helpful stance to take on things, but then that's because most of us are highly trained into only accepting positive viewpoints. This is the general conceit of countless self-help books and even Hollywood films. Dream big and you can get what you want. But the Stoics take the opposite approach. They prepare for the storm. They learn to enjoy life even when things aren't going their way. And they recognize hardship as challenge and an opportunity for growth. When you go through life feeling entitled to everything going your way, how can you be expected to be happy? And how can you be expected to face challenges that are genuinely difficult? So how does rejecting this incessant positivity help? How do you practically apply Stoicism in your own life? One suggestion from Stoicism is called something like, and it's all about negative visualization. The idea that you visualize your fears rather than your goals. Instead of picturing things going perfectly to plan, instead picture things at their very worst. Imagine how your plans can fail and picture what life would be like if all of your worst fears came true. What does this help you do to prepare for those worst case scenarios? Once you know that what your fears actually look like, you can then think about how you would cope in that scenario. Often you'll find that this worst case scenario is nowhere near as bad as you first thought it would be. And in other cases, you'll find that you can actually find ways to cope with that situation. This then removes the fear that could otherwise be holding you back and means that you are blindly ignoring what could potentially go wrong. If this sounds familiar, then it's because it's precisely the same concept that helped Tim Ferriss to come up with his fear-setting technique. Stoics argue that we curse when we're angry and that this anger is our own failing, our own stupidity. Think about the last time you swore with anger. Chances are that it was not because it rained or because you were found in debt. Most likely it was because you dropped something on your toe or because you broke your favourite possession. The point is that anger comes from the surprise, not the disappointment. You don't swear when it rains because you know that rain is a possibility. Therefore, if you are angry, this then suggests that you didn't expect whatever happened to you, and this is arguably your own fault. If you accept that bad things happen, and if you accept that sometimes things won't go to plan, then you will have no need to be angry because you will have accounted for it and prepared mentally for it. Now, when your partner cheats on you or when a service provider doesn't deliver a good service, you will think of it as simply being part of life, just like the rain. Stoicism means submitting to the fact that you have scant to no control over reality. But at the same time, it also means taking solace in the knowledge that these outside factors can't hurt you. Only your reaction can. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you make of that event and your own interpretation of it. Being mentally prepared for things that could go wrong is one example of this in action. Likewise, though, you might also simply decide not to let things affect you, to take a step back from them, and to deal with the consequences rather than thrashing against things that you cannot change. Remember your goals and your vision. Work towards them, stick to your code, try to make a difference, and focus on your legacy. Always keep a growth mindset. Each challenge that comes your way is a chance to get stronger, smarter, and better. Don't wallow in stress or anxiety. That helps no one. See it as a chance to grow and to prevent this happening again and take the necessary steps. Just act and learn from it. In fact, growth and challenge are things that the brain is wired for. We thrive when we are challenged mentally and physically, and this results in the production of hormones like dopamine, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and more than that keep us focused and help protect our brains in old age. Not only should you welcome the challenges that come, but you should also seek them out. I've talked a lot about how the warrior mindset involves greater resilience, greater patience, calmness, and strength. But the real question is, How do you get to that point? How can you gain that warrior mindset? Let me share with you a couple of powerful tools that will help you to grow and become stronger. First one, meditation. Meditation is an absolute must for a modern warrior. This is one of the single most powerful tools for transforming your mindset and for giving you the resilience, hardiness, and sense of calm you need to choose how to react to your emotions and feelings. Meditation is simply the practice of concentrating your mind, of emptying your brain of thoughts, and of learning to avoid distraction, ideas, and impulses. This takes great mental discipline, and in that sense, it is a perfect tool for training that discipline. Real concentration is discipline. What's more is that meditation teaches you to distract from your anxieties, your urges, and your desires. Mindful meditation teaches you to let your thoughts drift by without affecting you, while transcendental clears your mind entirely. This is a great way to calm your physiology when stressed and to take back control over your thoughts and actions. Those who meditate are calmer and less easily riled, and this frees them to act in the most considered and effective manner. Finally, meditation is a great way to recharge your batteries and gain more energy, which in turn allows you to execute your plan. Another one is correct breathing. You can use this to regain your composure and enter the warrior mindset at will. This means belly breathing, breathing from your diaphragm first and taking deep breaths. This calms your nervous system and puts you into the rest and digest state. It's the perfect way to overcome anxiety. We're reaching the end of this episode's journey together, but yours is only beginning. It's time to start putting yourself out there, testing yourself, growing, taking on challenges, and deciding what's important to you. It's time to stop fretting the small stuff, to cease the creature comforts, and to embrace a more challenging and demanding life. Because that's where the value comes from, and that's what will make you great. But a word of caution before you go, this is going to be tough. You are going to find that sometimes doing the right thing and ignoring your emotional response means saying things people don't like. Sticking to your principles will mean upsetting the apple cart. But if you know yourself truly, if you know your goals, you know what you want, and you know the principles you want to live by, then you will know the right things to do and you should have the strength to do them. And that means living with the consequences. And that is the last lesson I will impart on you today. Be willing to face the music. Be willing to put yourself out there, take risks, and then face the flack that will come your way. As soon as you learn that sometimes you'll get things wrong and you accept and learn to deal with the outcome, you'll find that you become a more decisive and more efficient individual. People who are afraid to make the wrong choice and who don't want to upset anyone will never be able to make decisions. They'll always be on the fence and they will always lack conviction. But that's not you. You are a warrior, and that means you need to follow your own path and face the consequences as a mature adult. You will ask for forgiveness and not permission. And if you don't get it, as long as you have done what's right by you, then you forge ahead anyway. Remember, you are the warrior. Do you want to learn how to say no without feeling guilty so that you can take control of your life instead of life controlling you? If so, then the next episode of Thoughts, Action, Success is one that you don't want to miss. I currently have some limited vacancies for some new coaching clients and wanted to offer the opportunity to my show viewers and listeners first. If you're interested in finding out more about coaching and if it could work for you, then I'd love to talk to you and have a complimentary, no obligation discovery session so that you can experience it for yourself. All my contact details are available on my Facebook page or on my website, KirstieJohnston.com. In the meantime, come on over and join me in the Thoughts, Action, Success Facebook group. for exclusive access to further inspo action from this and previous episodes. In the meantime, have a fantastic weekend and we'll talk again soon. And remember, you are a warrior.